Um, you actually create. I actually create. You here? Hello. The technology people are here.
Did you start the meeting again?
Yes, I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
Toyo help out.
Uh,
Yes, they
okay.
coming in. People are coming
Okay.
in.
I was gonna send from my work.
Mm,
Um,
so we can go above an hour.
yeah, I should have done. I should have offered that before. I have.
It's okay. I think like we can do like just like an hour, maximum 30 minutes more.
Okay. If
And
you
also
just,
help the others like Yama, Eddie, and them like to come in maybe to ask questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you let me share again, and I'll jump right
Okay.
in where I left off.
Make a host, yeah.
Okay,
Good.
perfect. Um, okay, from the beginning, from current slide. Okay. Moving on for what we were speaking about, this is just some advice that I like to share around how to best use a lawyer. This is from experience and having worked with a lot of people I know personally. It's put me in a much more powerful position to understand like what are their concerns. Like when I'm reviewing their contracts, I do it as an extension of who they are. So I think when you're talking with a lawyer, make sure to communicate your negotiables and your non-negotiables. Any type of issues that you've had in the past. So like if you've had contractual issues, flag them so that the lawyer is like looking for those so that we're not doing like repeat offenses. Lay out your priorities. So something that Jasmine clearly communicated was okay, I think she just joined. Something that Jasmine clearly communicated was around intellectual property rights. So communicate your priorities to your lawyer. And then the final thing, which I think is important to know, is that nothing is too small to discuss. Like you literally need to understand everything, especially on big contracts and the contracts where you give your rights away. So ask questions. Don't feel, I don't know, stupid is the wrong word, but don't feel stupid to ask questions. Nothing is obvious, nothing is to be assumed. So just like clarify, clarify, clarify. Um, and then let's see here. And this is touching on some of the things that we discussed. And I think these are things to have in mind when you need to negotiate and review a contract. So the first thing is like when it's a one-time payment, then that needs to really reflect the fact that you're letting, like after this, you will get nothing more. So the money needs to, whether it is to envision what could have been with that company that Jabril was working with, or also emotionally, like what do you feel comfortable with, regardless of whatever might happen with what you're selling, what will you feel comfortable with as a one-time payment? And you might today be comfortable taking $10,000, but in 2 years' time, you might expect a minimum of 100,000. So you have to continue to assess like what does a one-time payment look like for you, and how would that make you comfortable? And another thing to negotiate, which I would have suggested for Jabril if he ever gets a similar contract, is to limit geographical scope or usage of any of your content. So if you sell, I'm going to use images as the example, but you can insert anything really. But if you're selling an image, you can literally say, you can use this for your Christmas campaign. And if you want to use anything, if you want to use this for anything else, you need to come back to negotiate. And that is a way to secure that you control in the long run how much money you get out of something. So limit what they can do. I'm not saying it's always easy to make that negotiation. Like you have to really stand on your stuff, but you can limit geographical scope. So for example, for Jibril's images, it could have been like, you can only use this in Senegal, going beyond Senegal, or you can only use this in Francophone countries. So you can be creative. Literally, I mean, lawyers are not considered as creatives, but in order for you to do a semi-decent job as a lawyer, you have to be creative in the solutions that you offer in terms of negotiating. When it is indefinite use of your content, again, similar to when it's a one-time payment, like it just has to make sense if somebody's going to be able to use it forever or throughout the world. But that could also open the door for continuous payments. So for example, if you sell an image that will help a company make money, then you could ask for a percentage instead of taking a one-time payment and say, I would annually like to get this much percentage of sales that are associated to the product that you're promoting using my images. So you can find different ways to get compensated continuously when you're selling something indefinitely. And then this that we've spoken about a little bit is that when you wish to keep your rights and what that looks like. So that is not always a possibility, right? If you're going to be working with certain companies. And my advice there is like, you have to assess within yourself how much value, how important that is for you in each contract. Because sometimes the payout for selling your rights might be worth it for you in that moment for whatever reason, and other times it's not. But what I urge you to do is like really dig deep to understand where your limit is when it comes to that, and then be willing to walk away. And everybody's not able to do that. That's really hard sometimes. I've had to like let clients silently support clients that are signing off some things that I don't think make sense, but whatever makes sense to you, but have a clear cutoff when you will say, I just won't do this. That's where my limit is. And then, okay. So here, okay, so these are my golden rules that I want you to like take with you, if they're helpful, that is. So the number one thing is to follow the run approach. So review, understand, negotiate. Second one is to know and stand by your non-negotiables. I think it's even though it's like one of the harder things, it's so important because it helps you navigate contracts in a very clear way when you have those. And even if it's tempting, it's always worth to stick by your contractual values. And then make sure your lawyer knows your priorities. And I think it's really important that you establish a relationship with a lawyer that helps them act as your extension. So something that I tend to ask new people that I don't know their unique stories or their priorities is like, what are you afraid of? And that sounds like the beginning of a therapy session, and it's really not. Like, I'm just trying to understand, like, how do I serve this person the best? Because your fears and concerns might not be anything that somebody else worries about. So I have one client who's super paranoid, and like we talk about it all the time, but because I know she is, like, she wants Fort Knox type of contracts to make sure that nothing can happen to her or that she can be at risk of anything. And I have other clients whose contracts are focused on giving whoever they work with autonomy and rights. So it's like, it's completely two very different approaches to contracts, but I'm here to be an extension of each individual client. So I do what they want, and I can do it because I know. So make sure your lawyer knows. And the final thing is like, don't assume anything. There's nothing, like, common sense is a scam. Common sense is a scam. Like, not everybody has the same idea of what things mean. So don't assume that everybody's on the same page. Ask it to be verbalized. Even if it feels like it's clear, make it crystal clear. So that's sums my presentation up. And I don't know if anyone has any other questions or comments.
Bravo.
I didn't hear what you said, Jabril.
I said bravo, bravo, bravo.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, so any questions or thoughts or concerns, feel free.
Hey everybody, my name is Toyo and I am in Dakar. I am a counselor and a new artist. And my question is, I want to know what your thoughts are on contracts between associates. So it's not like a corporation or a big organization, just between people, because I think, okay, can you guys still hear me? Something just happened.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have some type of, something, otherwise it can really go left if it goes wrong and go all the way wrong. But what are your thoughts on that, and how would you advise just walking through that?
Yeah, so I think contracts are your best friend if you do them right. And when you're doing it within a company, I think so, like, I believe in like fairness as a general idea. So I think as long as you do it in collaboration with whoever you're supposed to contract with, I think it's great, and it's like it's necessary. It's like a prenup, right? It's like we like each other today, and this is here to make sure that we remember that day we liked each other, because the day when we don't like each other might come. So I think it's helpful to make sure, like, to set out expectations if you're going into business with someone, responsibilities, and also the tone of the collaboration. So I think I personally think it's necessary. I also know people, a client pair of mine have been working together for many years, and it's like a continuous thing of like understanding who does what. So you can have like a contract in terms of responsibilities and what happens if we wanted to solve this partnership, but then you can also have like a living document clarifying like roles and responsibilities that might evolve as the business evolves. But I do personally think it's a good idea, especially if you want that relationship to live beyond whatever work partnership that is.
So if I hear you correctly, are you saying maybe instead of a contract, something like a living document, or just some type of, maybe not as formal as a contract, but just something on paper saying this is this and that is that, just to help guide people?
No, I think you should have a contract. I think you should 100% have a contract, but in supplement to that. So the contract can be something that is like you said, very formal, saying like, okay, if we stop this, I don't know, you said associates. I'm just thinking if you're creating a company with them, or you're just
working together, or different. I mean, there are different structures, right? So I guess it would look different depending on the structure, but these aren't like big organizations, or like it's not like a gallery. It's doing work with someone or for someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not starting a business with someone and it's more of like a collaboration, you don't necessarily have to have a contract, but you could have something like as a statement of intent or something in the effect, like just to clarify like what you're both intending to do in this partnership. And if you are not getting paid together and you're getting paid separately, it's just to establish like how the relationship is supposed to be, and it doesn't have to be as formal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Eddie?
Yes, hello everyone. I have a quick question. I'm working on creating an artist and creative agency, but for now I'm quite working informally in this field. So I'm in contact with some artists that I give some gigs or suggest to people or stuff like that. So for now, since I'm working informally, should I give them a contract? Or if yes, what is the value of this contract, since I'm not working, or I don't have a company yet?
Well, I mean, if this, so informal can mean so many different things. So it depends, like if you are representing them, or if you're working for them, generating income in any way, I think it could be worth having a contract. Sometimes when we do like informal work, it's to say that I'm not getting money right now, but you might be helping someone to set them up for financial success later. And it's about also like protecting the investment that you're making when working with them informally. But it really depends on your unique situation. So it's like, yeah, so I think if you are working with creatives, and this work will generate income later, I think there's a benefit of protecting your rights to make sure that this doesn't go away without you, if that makes sense. I might misunderstand the unique work setup that you have, but that is my instinct.
Yes, but this is the case. And for example, I'm working with photographers. Like recently, I helped someone have a contract for I don't know, a business agency. So in this case, I'm not kind of asking for money, but even if I create a contract with them, is there a real value of this contract? Because I'm just like acting as myself and not like a company or something else.
It depends on your objective. So if you're helping people just to be nice, then you're just, no. Like if somebody calls me and say, can you help me like move this couch? I'm not going to ask for a contract, right? But if you're doing this with the objective of like if you're helping a photographer get a job, and you're trying to build a company where you will facilitate for creatives to have a career, that sounds like an agency to me, right? And if you're acting like an agent, even if you don't want money today, maybe you want to sign a contract that states that this photographer will work with me for a year or two, whatever it is, to make sure that when you have your company in place, like this photographer will continue to work with you since you have invested and helped them in their career. It doesn't have to be an exploitative contract. It doesn't have to be, you have to work, I have to be your agent for the rest of your life, but whatever makes sense to you. Because otherwise you're just doing people favors, which is perfectly fine to do. But that's the difference between like if the objective is to run a business, then where's the business model in what you're doing? And if the intention is to just do favors, I think you're doing a great job, and this photographer friend of yours is going to love you. So it's like, it depends what you're trying to do.
Okay, thank you. I think I was doing favors first, but since I thought that I'm doing a lot of time, I'm spending a lot of time like on my spare time, so I can do this like as little gigs. So I was thinking about building a company around that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then set up your company and understand what the business is. If you want to act like an agent or a manager to creatives, then absolutely you need to have contracts. And I started in the exact same way. I was doing favors until, thank God, my friends are like cool people. So they're like, we need to pay you. This is insane. You're like making us money. And that's how I had to set up my company, because I now need to start invoicing people. So you either get pushed into it because you're dealing with fair people, or you need to be business minded enough to create it yourself.
Thanks.
No worries. There's like comments in the chat, and I saw one in French, and I can't. That's beyond my capacity. I don't know if there's anything.
I
Just
think
so
like
I don't
it's Idrissa. Idrissa is part of the Ateliers des Recalcitrants session in Conakry back in 2020, but he's having some issues with the sound. I think like It's unfortunate, but like it's we can just like can move forward. Maybe like another session in French, you will be able to join.
All right. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
I think there's a question in the chat.
Oh, there is?
Should the contract be written by a lawyer necessarily? And how do we make it legit?
Okay, so that depends on the country context. A contract does not have to be written by a lawyer. There are plenty of formats available online, but to ensure that the contract actually is compliant to national laws or whatever laws that you're trying to follow, it's helpful to have a lawyer review it. So you could put up a draft on your own, and many clients that I have worked with are like, this is what we're working with right now, because they have been doing it on their own. And then I use that model to understand what are the kind of like key priorities, because those are often included in that. And then I just reshape it and work with I often work with national attorneys, because my advice is more from a strategic point of view, to develop something and ensure that it is according to the laws of the countries that they work in. So the answer is, should the contract be written by a lawyer? Yes, but not necessarily. And how to make it legitimate is based upon the national laws. Signing it is often enough. Some countries you have to have it notarized. Some places you have to register the contract. So it depends. And it's also, if it's like an employment contract, there might be other aspects to it. But if it's just a contract between two parties, then it should be enough just to sign it.
I have a question related to that. So in the age of Google, where everything is on the internet, is it advisable to just kind of get like a template of a contract online and then tweak it to what you need it for specifically, or not advisable?
No, I think templates are great. I mean, it's a starting point. And I think even well-versed lawyers use templates as a starting point, and then they adjust it, right? And they might have developed their own templates at one point or another, but people don't sit and do things from scratch every single time. I think it's depending on your budget. If you don't have the budget, I mean, yes, absolutely do that. If you have some budget, do that and then check it with the lawyer. And if you have a limited amount of funds, then go with a lawyer so you don't have to do anything. Yeah, I think definitely use them and make them as uncomplicated as possible. Make sure you understand what you're contracting someone else to agree to. So at least you can stand by it, because like we've mentioned, the contract places gives benefits to the person who gives the contract, but it also places obligations on you. So just make sure you fully understand what you're handing out for somebody else to sign. Okay, so for new creative entrepreneurs, what should be the criteria to find a okay, so finding a lawyer, I mean, I will go by recommendations. I think that's like the best way. I wouldn't go with family unless I really loved them or didn't care about them at all. But like somewhere in, because sometimes a relationship with a lawyer can be challenging. So if you have a family member who's a lawyer, if you really think that they have your best interest at heart and is like dedicated, like I represent my cousin, and I, care for him deeply. So I really like do my best to protect him and ensure his priorities are respected. But I don't think necessarily family dynamics always work. Same with a friend, but go with people who are recommended. So if your cousin is a great lawyer and people recommend them, great. Maybe you get a family discount. But just recommendation, I think, is is the best, is your best bet. Otherwise, it's luck. And you might not, in the same way people say about therapists, like you might have to like date around and find a different lawyer for a different type of contracts. And once you have someone you trust, stick with them. And if they need to let you go, then ask them to recommend someone. Yeah. But yes, okay, Jibril, you're calling people out to make them talk. All right, okay, good. I don't like to do that. So I mean, it really like highs and lows. Like when I work with clients, I do a lot of like advising from little things to big things. So you can really use, if you have a lawyer that you trust, you can use them to help you how to navigate, especially complex relationships. I think I find that to be something, complex business relationship is something I often have to give advice on, so we don't end up in conflicts, which costs a lot of money. So you can hold on to a lawyer you trust if you find them. Any other questions? Jibril, do you have a question since you're calling people out?
Hi.
Hi.
Jeanette is calling me out. I'm gonna talk. I'm Yama.
Hi, Yama.
I'm a law student, so I think that I'm more here to listen because I think that is a lesson for me, more to refresh my memory about the contracts and the negotiation. And I think that you should also talk about the occurrence of contract, because often people don't know what they are doing. They see contract, they read it, and sometimes they have a problem to understand it. As you have said, it's a problem to understand the contract. Sometimes you can have study law, but you cannot understand what they are saying because it's so complicated. They have some term that is so vast that you say, oh, what they are talking about. So sometimes, as you say, it's important to consult a lawyer, but it's also important to you for you to understand what are you listening, what are you reading, and to and also to ask a help. So yeah, if you can talk also about the clearance of the contracts, I think they need to know about what they are reading.
Yeah, you said clearance, right? I heard that word.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is very true. Contracts that I get, sometimes I don't understand. And it's like, I'm very honest with my clients. I was like, I don't understand what they're trying to say. So let's unpack. So I speak with, I have lawyers and lawyer friends that I consult. Sometimes I ask the client if the budget is there to bring on a second lawyer. And then I also speak with lawyers on the other side because they're the ones who wrote it. So please Google Translate what you're trying to say here, because if I don't understand it, then how is people who haven't been subjected to legal English or whatever language supposed to understand it? And that's what I mentioned it before about the intent, because when you deal with big corporation, and I'm talking the big ones, the person that you're dealing with, especially as a talent, is not a lawyer. You're dealing with some sort of manager or an account holder of sorts. That person doesn't understand the contract. So they might be saying, oh, absolutely, you can do X, Y, and Z, and this could be the reality. But the lawyers on the contract has restricted everything. So I've been in that experience where I've had to tell whoever is like the hiring person or the account manager to speak with their lawyers to say, what you're telling us in meetings, make it represented in the paper, like in our contract, because what we're signing and what you're saying is completely disconnected. And they will assure you and be like, no, but we're actually the ones who are going to work with you. So don't worry about the fine print. And that's when I say, okay, so we're not signing. Like, just make sure that what is being said to you by sometimes a fellow creative or a non-legal expert, that is represented in the contract. That is how you ensure that you don't feel screwed over, one of the ways. Because at the end of it, they will always lean on the contract. They will all, like, when it comes down to it, they will say, but you signed. So here we go. So that's a really important point. And don't be afraid if your lawyer cannot explain a contract in full because they didn't write it. But what that should invite is the conversation with whoever wrote it to unpack the intentions and meaning of that contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, and great that you're in law school. There are good lawyers out there, so it's not just kind of like a money grabbing industry.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, I think there was like a timer saying we have 9 minutes left. I don't know if you want to throw in one more question. Otherwise, Jibril, is on you.
Maybe Agribi can ask a last question and we wrap it up.
You're putting Agribi on the spot. They might not.
Seems like he's not here. Maybe he's just like log in and be like, okay, let me just go grab a coffee or like enjoy my PlayStation. But
He's here in
yeah,
spirit.
I think like it was a great session, and thank you all for joining. Yama, Eddie, AC, Toyo, Jasmine, and Agrebi, the silent participant. If you guys have like any more questions, feel free to exchange contacts. Because the goal of the Atelier des Recalcitrants also is like, it's about that, like to create a community so people can exchange, like so you guys can feel free to exchange contact, like put your email on the chat or stuff like that, and your website or anything that you have. So Armania is here. We need people like her because we've been screwed over for decades. And I think like it's the right time to get what we deserve, and we see how much like Africa is kind of like I've been like it's a platform for creative Black culture in general. So I think like it's the time to get the real money, like the good contract, like the cash, but also assets. So, and it's going to start with the people who are spreading the word, like myself, because I got screwed over by Shime Inc. And I think like it won't happen again. So if I can like help or just like spread the word so people won't do the same mistake I did, it would be great. So yeah, thank you guys. Armania, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to do this, Jabil. It helps me also to kind of like package the challenges that I have witnessed and hear my friends complain about when it comes to contracts. And yeah, I just want everyone to feel more empowered when it comes to contracts. It's not supposed to be scary. It's an opportunity to put yourself in like the best position ever to get what you want out of it, whether it's money, freedom, flexibility, your rights, whatever it is, like really see it as like an opportunity to take charge. So yes, I hope it was helpful, and I put my email in the chat if anyone wants to reach out. And yeah, I'm glad you attended, because this is not always a topic creators wants to like chop it up about. Like I feel sometimes when you hear contract, some people run. So I'm glad that you guys attended. So thank you very much.
Yeah, if you guys have like some last question, last words, we have 5 minutes left. So yeah, feel free. We can start with Toyo.
I was typing my last comment in the box. So if anyone would like to work with or speak with me on any mental health wellness issues, feel free. I shared my email in the chat, but it's also in the email, because I know this might be gone in a second. It's also in the email invitation list. So thank you. Thank you guys for providing this platform for us to get together and speak. It's needed.
Yasmin? Jasmine?
Sorry, Zoom on my phone is way different than on my laptop. Thank you all. I'm just happy to be in the space, and thank you all for your comments. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Eddie?
Yes, really thanks for putting this together. It was really helpful. Thanks, Armania. And I was always also saying in the comment that I really like the Atelier and Docket behind you, Jabril.
Who else? AC?
Hey, Javel. Sorry, I was in a meeting earlier and I was trying to listen to two things at the same time. But I just want to say thank you so much to you and to Armenia. It was very insightful. I think for most of us who are trying to, live from this side hustle, if I want to say, it's very great to see how we can move forward in a much more legit way, because that's important. So thank you, Jabil. This is very mature of you, mature in a way that you're really a gadai, in a sense that you've experienced something negative and you want to make sure that we don't go on the same path. So thank you so much for bringing us all here.
Thank you, AC. Thank you, AC. Yama? The last one? I think she's gone. Okay. Oh,
No, I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm here. Wait, I'm not. Yes, thank you very much. It was really nice. I didn't understand all because I'm not an English speaker, but anyway, it was really nice to see you guys, and it was a nice conversation about the contracts, the law, and as I say, is not always easy to understand, but I think that Armenia have done a good job, and so thank you to both of you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. So see you next.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.